He already knows. He's always known. The common narrative that the divine masculine is confused, lost, or unsure of his feelings for you is a comforting illusion. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of waiting that doesn't need to exist. The truth, which few dare to acknowledge, is both harsher and more freeing. The moment you recognized him as your twin flame, he recognized you as well. The key difference is that while you embraced this truth immediately, he chose to test whether you were strong enough to uphold this union. Those behaviors you've been interpreting as signs of indifference, they are actually precise, instinctive tests that the masculine psyche naturally applies. This isn't a conscious effort or a planned action. It's a primal, instinctive verification to confirm whether the energetic connection between you has matured enough to support the union in physical realm. If you fail to understand these signs or misinterpret the motives behind his seemingly contradictory actions, your responses could unintentionally delay the reunion by months or even years. In this video, I will reveal the 5 clear signs the divine masculine displays when assessing whether you are ready for the final reunion. And most importantly, I'm going to show you exactly how to respond to each of these tests in a way that speeds up the reunion rather than delaying it. Stay until the end, and you'll uncover the secret Jung's depth psychology revealed. True union only occurs when the divine feminine consciously chooses to act in a very specific way. Perhaps everything keeping you apart right now isn't a lack of love or bad timing, but simply a final energetic alignment that hasn't yet been completed. Before we explore the specific signs, it's crucial to understand why the divine masculine tests instead of immediately surrendering to the connection when he senses it's real. This stems from a fundamental difference in how the masculine and feminine experience the twin flame journey. For the feminine, recognizing the twin flame is usually a moment of expansion, a natural opening and surrender to something that feels sacred and inevitable. Feminine soul has been conditioned over millennia to be receptive to connections beyond logic, to trust intuitions that don't require rational proof, and to explore emotional depths without fear of losing herself. The masculine experiences this recognition very differently. When he sees you and something in the depths of his soul recognizes your significance beyond any previous connection, when he feels an attraction that goes far beyond the physical and touches spiritual dimensions he didn't know existed, his first reaction is not expansion, it is contraction. It is not openness, it is defense. This happens because his entire identity, built around autonomy, control, rationality, and strength, suddenly feels threatened. In seeing you, he simultaneously perceives his greatest potential for fulfillment and his greatest risk of ego dissolution. Here's what's essential to understand about the tests he gives. They aren't about proving your worthiness or earning his love. Instead, they serve to determine whether you've cultivated the emotional maturity and personal independence required to prevent the relationship from becoming destructive or enmeshed. Deep down, what the divine masculine fears most isn't loving you fully. It's losing himself entirely in that love. It's the risk of his individuality dissolving within a connection so intense that he ceases to be himself. The only way he can safeguard against this is by assessing whether you can maintain your own sense of self. Only then can he trust that he won't be drawn into a cycle of emotional codependency. These tests are mostly unconscious. He rarely thinks, "I'm going to test if she's ready today." They are instinctive impulses of the masculine psyche, automatic soul level verifications occurring before his conscious mind is even aware. When you grasp the true nature of these tests, when you stop seeing them as rejection or indications that he doesn't want you, you can finally respond in ways that show exactly what he needs. This creates the conditions for him to allow himself full surrender. The first indication that the divine masculine is testing your readiness for the final reunion is both confusing and revealing. He begins to create distance just as the connection feels strongest. You may have shared deep conversations recently, experienced moments of vulnerability, exchanged looks that spoke volumes, and then suddenly he becomes distant. Responses are less frequent, excuses to meet arise, and a coldness replaces the intimacy you had just shared. Your initial reaction might be panic, fear of having done something wrong, or desperation at losing him just as things were progressing. But here's what's truly happening behind this withdrawal. He is assessing whether you can maintain emotional stability even without his constant presence to validate it. He's observing if your inner peace relies on him or if it is genuinely self-sustained. If your sense of security exists only when he is near, giving attention or affirming the connection, then your peace is conditional and fragile. Instinctively, he knows a healthy union cannot be built on such a shaky foundation. This test isn't about whether you chase him when he pulls away. It's about whether you remain centered, whole, and at peace with yourself, even in his absence. Whether you continue living joyfully and purposefully, or slip into anxious waiting, obsessively checking your phone, overanalyzing past conversations, searching for signs of what went wrong. The divine masculine needs to sense that your life is rich and meaningful, making his presence a wonderful addition, but not an absolute necessity. And this realization cannot come through words. It must be observed in how you energetically carry yourself when he steps back. The correct approach to the first test is not to pretend indifference or attempt to provoke jealousy. Instead, it is about sincerely redirecting your attention back to yourself, your projects, passions, relationships with others, and your spiritual growth. The space he creates should not be viewed as a punishment to endure, but as an opportunity to explore and deepen your understanding of who you are. When you do this, and he eventually returns to find that you haven't just survived without him, but have genuinely thrived, a shift occurs in his psyche. He recognizes that he can approach you without fear, that you will cling to him as if he were your sole emotional support. The second sign is even more complex to handle correctly. He begins revealing his fears, insecurities, and shadow aspects, things he normally keeps hidden, but often presents them in a way that seems to push you away rather than draw you closer. He may confess a fear of commitment, uncertainty about his capacity for a deep relationship, or remorse over past actions and the potential of hurting you. He might expose destructive patterns, addictions, or flaws he usually masks behind a facade of strength and competence. The way he communicates this can feel like a warning, signaling that you should distance yourself or that he is somehow not worthy of you. This is where most on the twin flame journey misstep. Some try to rescue him, assuring him he is better than he believes, offering unconditional love and hoping to heal his wounds. Others respond by taking his words at face value and withdrawing out of fear or disappointment. But neither of these reactions is what he truly needs to witness. What he's testing isn't whether you will rescue him or walk away, but whether you can recognize his full truth, including his shadow side, while maintaining your own independence without being swept. into his emotional turmoil. The challenge is, can you observe his vulnerability without feeling responsible for fixing it? Can you acknowledge his fears as real without letting them dictate the possibilities between you? Can you love him fully, including his imperfections, without compromising your own boundaries and needs? Because what the divine masculine requires most right now isn't a savior, it's an equal, someone resilient enough to hold space for his growth without being consumed by it. Someone who can communicate through actions, not just words. I see all of you, and it doesn't intimidate me or make me want to fix you, because I trust you are capable of your own inner work. The proper response to this test is to listen attentively when he shares openly, honor his courage and vulnerability, then gently redirect the responsibility back to him. It's about being able to say, with love and firmness, I see your journey and respect your fears, but I cannot do this work for you. I also will not pause my life while you decide if you're ready. It means keeping your heart open to him while continuing to pursue your own dreams. When he experiences this balance of compassion without dependency and love without a need for rescue, something profound settles within him. He understands he can be fully human, with all his flaws and fears, without destroying the potential for union. The third sign is especially subtle and, as a result, frequently misinterpreted. He begins by observing how you behave in situations where your boundaries are tested, when your needs conflict with those of others, or when you must choose between pleasing someone and staying true to yourself. He may appear distant or indifferent, but in reality, he's closely watching how you handle daily life, especially moments that reveal your genuine self, love, and authenticity. He notices how you respond to a friend who constantly asks for favors without giving back, how you react when someone subtly disrespects you, and how you handle situations where your opinions are questioned or dismissed. He observes whether you say yes when you actually mean no, whether you minimize yourself to make others comfortable, or tolerate behaviors that violate your personal values. Much of this observation happens subtly through shared social interactions, stories you tell, casual conversations, and even social media posts. What he is testing is essential. He wants to see if you can maintain healthy boundaries with others. This indicates your ability to maintain healthy boundaries with him as well. The divine masculine instinctively fears entering a dynamic where a woman constantly sacrifices herself, negates her own needs, or accepts less than she deserves out of fear of losing him. He knows that such a dynamic inevitably leads to resentment, and that love without boundaries can turn into harmful codependency. Responding correctly to this test has little to do with him directly. It's about how you live your life overall. It involves practicing saying no when something doesn't align with your truth, even if it displeases others. It means establishing firm boundaries when someone crosses your limits, without guilt or over-explaining. It requires honoring your values, even when compromising would be easier. Ultimately, it's about choosing authenticity over acceptance and integrity over superficial harmony. And when he sees you living this way, when he notices that you respect yourself enough to protect your boundaries, he senses he can trust that you'll bring that same strength into the relationship. He understands you won't lose yourself in him, won't compromise your identity for his sake, and won't create a situation where he has to tiptoe around his own needs for fear of harming you. The fourth sign is likely the most counterintuitive, which is why it's often misunderstood. He begins to pull away exactly when you are showing the most interest. the greatest availability, and the deepest openness to the connection. It seems that the more you reach toward him, the more he retreats. The more you show readiness, the more he behaves as if he isn't. This can feel confusing and even painful because it contradicts the relationship logic you've learned. You were taught that love naturally brings people closer, that interest sparks interest, openness sparks openness, and vulnerability sparks vulnerability. But what's actually happening is a test of your energetic polarity. The divine masculine expresses a directional, penetrating energy that naturally moves toward receptivity, but not toward pursuit. When you show interest through actions, initiating contact or conversations, you're operating in a masculine energy rather than a feminine one. This creates a polarity imbalance that immediately reduces magnetic attraction, not because he doesn't desire you, but because instinctively something feels reversed in the energetic roles. The test here is striking in its simplicity. He needs to perceive that you are fully complete within yourself, firmly grounded in your own brilliance, and not in need of pursuing anyone. You exist in your own radiant energy, allowing others the choice to approach or not, without disturbing your inner peace. When you chase, constantly initiate, or display excessive availability, you inadvertently signal that your life feels lacking without him, that his validation is necessary for your sense of wholeness. This, in turn, triggers the defensive responses of the masculine psyche. The proper way to respond to this test requires doing something that may initially seem impossible. Completely stop moving toward him. Stop initiating contact. Stop creating reasons for casual interaction. Stop demonstrating interest through your actions. This doesn't mean pretending indifference or playing mind games. It means genuinely redirecting the energy you were using to draw closer to him back into your own life. It means reclaiming your own energetic center, returning to your natural brilliance. It means becoming the magnet rather than the metal drawn to it. Here's what happens when you achieve this. When you genuinely cease the chase and focus on yourself, he begins to respond. Not instantly, not dramatically, but subtly. You will notice small shifts. He will begin appearing where you are. He will seek opportunities to engage. He will begin to show genuine curiosity about your life because the energetic polarity has now aligned. You are grounded in receptive, magnetic feminine energy, which allows him to step naturally into focused, directional masculine energy without feeling pursued or controlled. The fifth and most profound sign that the divine masculine is assessing your readiness for a final reunion relates to something beyond outward actions. On an energetic level, he is sensing whether you still require him to feel whole or whether you have fully discovered yourself. This assessment does not occur through dialogue or direct contact. It takes place within the subtle energetic field that links you even across distance. He may be on the opposite side of the world and still perceive, with remarkable accuracy, whether you are operating from a state of lack or a state of inner completeness. When you exist in a frequency of lack, even if everything appears stable on the surface, your emotional energy continues to flow toward him. Your thoughts carry an element of dependency. Your visions of being together are infused with urgency. You experience an internal void that you believe only he can resolve. These energetic expressions create a sense of pressure around him, which the masculine psyche naturally resists. It is similar to an invisible force drawing him in, a pull that feels restrictive rather than inviting. And the more you try to pull him closer, the more he resists, pushing away to preserve his sense of autonomy. But when you reach a true state of wholeness, when you are so secure and fulfilled within yourself that you no longer require external validation, when your life is so rich and meaningful that he becomes a wonderful addition rather than a necessity, everything in the energetic field shifts. You stop draining your energy toward him. You stop creating pressure. You stop projecting neediness. In that space of non-pressure, non-neediness, and absence of lack, he can finally feel his attraction to you clearly, without the interference of fear or feeling trapped. The real test is this: can you think of him, desire the union, and hold the vision of what you could be together, while simultaneously being at peace with the possibility that it may not happen, or that it may unfold differently than you expect? Can you love without clinging, desire without despairing, and dream without dependency? This is the exact vibration the divine masculine is waiting to experience before he can fully surrender. He needs to know he can commit to the connection without losing himself in it. And he can only trust this when he senses that you do not desperately need him to surrender. Meeting this final test requires the deepest inner work you can undertake. Finding true completeness within yourself isn't about strategies to win him over or manifestation techniques. It's about authentic transformation. It's about healing the wounds that drive you to seek external validation. It's about cultivating a deeply loving relationship with yourself so that you become your own primary source of love and acceptance. It's about creating a life so aligned with your purpose that each day holds meaning, whether he is present or not. When you reach this state of genuine completeness, something remarkable occurs. You stop giving off signals of energetic neediness and instead radiate abundance. You become magnetic in a way no technique or strategy could ever achieve. The divine masculine, wherever he is, senses this shift in your energy. It's as if a weight has lifted from him, allowing him to be near you without the burden of unrealistic expectations or needs he cannot fulfill. Now that you know the 5 tests the divine masculine uses before the final reunion, you might wonder, how long will this take? When will he stop testing and fully embrace the connection, the truth, which may be hard to accept but is essential to understand, is that there's no fixed timeline. Some divine masculines complete this process in weeks, others in months, and some take years. The timeline depends not on him, but on how quickly you can make the internal transformations that these tests are designed to confirm. If you keep failing the tests, chasing when you should be centering, trying to save him when you should be maintaining boundaries, or operating from a frequency of lack instead of completeness, tests will continue. It's like being in a classroom where you cannot advance until you have mastered the current lesson. The universe and your psyche will continue presenting similar situations in slightly altered form until you respond in a way that shows the emotional maturity required for union. Once you begin passing these tests, when your responses reflect genuine internal transformation, his movement toward you can happen surprisingly quickly. It may have been that for years he resisted, pulled away, or denied the connection. Then suddenly, when you fully establish yourself in your own completeness, he appears ready for union. Those years of resistance were not about him rejecting you. They were about him waiting for you to become the version of yourself capable of sustaining a healthy union. Here's something few people truly understand about this process. The tests never completely end. Even after the union occurs, even when you are together physically, life will continue presenting opportunities to demonstrate the same qualities the initial tests sought to confirm. You will encounter moments requiring you to choose between pursuing or maintaining your own centrality. There will be times when you must decide between trying to fix him or trusting that he can navigate his own challenges. Your boundaries, authenticity, and inner completeness will be continually tested. The difference is that after passing the initial tests and forming the union, you have already developed the internal resources to continue meeting subsequent challenges. You know how to return to your center when you feel yourself slipping. You have experience maintaining boundaries even when giving in feels easier. You have felt the sense of inner completeness that does not depend on external circumstances. These capacities become a permanent part of who you are, tools you can access whenever needed. If you've reached this point, you've likely recognized at least some of these tests within the dynamic you share with your twin flame. Now, it might make sense why certain behaviors from him, which once seemed confusing or even harsh, actually have a clear purpose when viewed through the lens of what's being tested. He is not trying to hurt you. He is not consciously manipulating you. He is not playing mind games. Instead, he is instinctively assessing whether you have developed the emotional maturity necessary for him to experience the full vulnerability that a twin flame union requires. The most empowering part of understanding these tests is that you now have complete clarity about what you truly need to do. There's no guessing, no need to try multiple strategies to see what works, no confusion about why he may come close and then pull away. Your role is not to win him over, convince him, or prove your value. Your role is to become fully whole within yourself, rooted in your own sovereignty, radiating authenticity so powerfully that he cannot help but recognize you as exactly what his soul has always sought. When you focus on this inner transformation, changing from within rather than merely adjusting outward behaviors, the reunion ceases to be something you must force or manifest. It unfolds naturally at the perfect time because both of you have aligned with the frequency that allows the connection to exist healthily on the physical plane. The waiting was never punishment, it was preparation. The tests were not rejection, they were calibration. Everything that seemed to pull you away from him was actually guiding you toward the only version of yourself capable of truly being with him. The true union of twin flames occurs only when the divine feminine chooses herself over the relationship, not because she abandons the connection, but because she realizes that she has always been what she was seeking. He is not the source of completeness. He is a mirror reflecting the need to discover that wholeness within yourself. When you reach that depth, when you know yourself so fully that you no longer need him to complete you, you can meet each other in a way that uplifts and expands both of you, rather than causing harm. If this message resonates with you, if you finally understand the meaning behind his seemingly contradictory behaviors, write in the comments, "I choose my sovereignty above all else." This phrase is more than words. It's a declaration that passing his test isn't about proving your worth. It's about recognizing that you were always worthy, always whole, and always magnificent. The reunion is a celebration of that truth, not its creation. For practical tools to support this deep inner work, I offer 2 resources: 21 Days of Transformation with Jung, an ebook guiding you through practices based on depth psychology to cultivate emotional sovereignty, and the Soul Survival Handbook, for the moments when the journey feels impossible. Links are in the first pinned comment. Thank you for having the courage to face this truth, even when it challenges everything you believed about love and relationships. The reunion is nearer than you think, but only when you stop chasing it and start becoming the person already ready for it. See you in the next video.